And now, it's time for another magical visit to Walt Disney's Storyland. And now, your host, Zane Fulp. Hello, everybody. I'm Zane Fulp, and welcome to a very special edition of Walt Disney Storyland. Today, I'll be reading two very special Christmas stories to you since Christmas Eve tomorrow. Wow! Can you believe it? Anyway, let's begin with the first story, Mickey's Christmas Carol. Alright, here we go. Poor Bob Cratchit. Mr. Scrooge had made him work late again, even though it was Christmas Eve. But now, at last, he could go home. "Merry Christmas!" he called. "Christmas! Ah!" shouted Scrooge. "Don't forget to take my laundry." Bob lugged the heavy laundry bag through the icy streets. When he stopped once to rest, he thought of his family waiting for him and trudged on. "It's Papa!" cried Tiny Tim joyfully as Bob struggled through the door. "Dinner will be ready soon, dear," said Mrs. Cratchit, as she put some scraps into a pan. "I wish Mr. Scrooge would pay you more. He certainly has enough money." But Scrooge never thought he had enough money. Tonight, as always, he had stayed late at the office to count his gold coins. His nephew, Fred, opened the door. "Here's a holy wreath for you, Uncle," he said. "I've come to invite you to Christmas dinner. We're having roast goose and plum pudding and candied fruits and—" "Out of my way, boy! You know I can't eat that stuff!" Scrooge shouted as he marched out the door. "Give a penny for the poor?" asked a man on the street. "Give that to the poor!" cried Scrooge angrily, shoving the wreath over the man's head. "All this Christmas fuss," muttered Scrooge. "Bah! Humbug!" He thought of his old dead partner, Jacob Marley. "Marley never gave anything away," he said. "He was my kind of man." Scrooge shivered. He couldn't wait to get inside his warm house. As soon as he was indoors, Scrooge sank into his favorite chair. He was just dozing off when he heard clank, clank, clank. Scrooge sat up with a start. The ghost of Jacob Marley was coming toward him, slowly dragging long, heavy chains. "I must carry these chains through eternity," moaned Marley, "because I was selfish. Your punishment will be the same, Ebenezer Scrooge." "No," said Scrooge. "It can't be. Help me, Jacob." "Tonight," said Marley, "3 spirits will visit you. Listen to them, or your chains will be heavier than mine." The ghost vanished. "I need rest," Scrooge thought, climbing into bed. Imagine thinking I saw old Marley. He had barely fallen asleep when the alarm clock jangled. Scrooge opened his eyes and saw a dapper little fellow standing on the night table. "I am the ghost of Christmas past," he said. The ghost held out his hand. "Come," he said, "I'll take you to a Christmas live go." Scrooge felt himself drift toward the ceiling, and then he and the ghost sailed out the window. They flew across the night sky and landed near a house filled with music and cheerful voices. Scrooge looked in the window. "Why, that's me when I was young," he said with a gasp. "There's old Fezziwig. He gave me my first job. And there's my lovely Isabel." "See how happy you were then, Scrooge?" said the ghost. "You were full of love. But then you grew greedy and lost all your friends, even Isabel." Scrooge turned away. "I don't want to say any more. Please, spirit, take me home." Ring, ring. It was the alarm clock again. Scrooge opened his eyes. "I must have been dreaming," he said. 3, 5, 0, 1, boomed a voice. Across the room, a giant was sitting in Scrooge's chair, surrounded by bowls and platters of delicious-looking food. "What's all this?" demanded Scrooge. "It's the food of generosity," said the giant. "Something you know nothing about. I'm the ghost of Christmas present. Come and see what's happening tonight." He picked Scrooge up and dropped him into his deep pocket. Outside, the giant set Scrooge down in front of a tiny tumble-down house. Scrooge peered through a broken window. It It's the Cratchit's home, he said. What a measly dinner they're having. Why are they eating the food in the pot? That's your laundry, said the giant. The boy to make it sure it gets extra clean. What's wrong with the lad? Asked Scrooge. Tiny Tim is very ill, said the giant. He needs good food to make him strong and well. You should pay Bob Cratchit more so he could buy his family enough to eat. The giant's voice faded, and then he was gone. Scrooge tried to call the giant back, but it was too late. Suddenly, he was surrounded by thick clouds of fog. When the air cleared, he saw he was standing near a broken-down tombstone in a shadowy graveyard. Hello, Scrooge, said a voice from behind him. I am the ghost of Christmas future. Scrooge turned to the ghost. Whose lonely grave is this? He asked. See for yourself, said the ghost. It belongs to a man who was very rich, but he was so selfish and unkind that he had no friends. Scrooge read the name on the stone. Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh no! This is my grave! He cried. That's right, said the ghost, laughing. No, please, begged Scrooge. I don't want to die all alone, with no friends. I'll change my ways, I promise. I'll change. Scrooge's eyes flew open. He was in his own bed. He was still alive, and there was still time to change, to make a new beginning. It's Christmas morning! He cried. He dressed quickly and rushed outside. Take these, my friends! Scrooge called joyfully, tossing bags of coins to the men collecting for the poor. Just then he saw his nephew. Hello, Fred, he shouted. May I still come to dinner? Of course, Uncle, replied Fred. Splendid, said Scrooge. I'll see you later. There's something I must do first. Scrooge knocked at Bob Cratchit's door. Merry Christmas, Scrooge said happily. I have another bundle for you. Look, Papa, cried Tiny Tim after opening the sack. Toys! Flintons are worth more than all the gold of the world, said Scrooge. Cratchit, from now on you and your family will have all the good food and warm clothing you need. Merry Christmas, my friends. God bless you, sir, said Bob. And God bless us, everyone, shouted Tiny Tim. All right, time for our second story of the day. Mickey Mouse Goes Christmas Shopping. Morty Mouse dried the breakfast dishes. Furry Mouse swept the floor. They both made their beds and picked up their clothes, because today was the day Uncle Mickey and Aunt Minnie had promised to take them Christmas shopping, if they were very good. They all rode downtown in Uncle Mickey's car. What a wonderful day it was! There were snowflakes spinning in the air. There were frosty breezes blowing around the buildings. Every street corner was a tinkle with the sound of Santa Pepper's bells. Every shop window was a twinkle with colored lights and toys. Best of all was the big department store. Morty Mouse and Furry Mouse took Mickey and Minnie firmly by the hand. They led those grown-ups through the crowd, straight into the busy store. What a hustle! What a bustle! What a clatter! What a crowd! But Morty and Furry knew where they were going. Whenever Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse tried to hang back to look at sweaters or mittens or socks, Morty and Furry tugged at their hands and pulled them straight ahead. For they had seen a big sign saying, Toys! Zip! Up they went in an elevator straight to the toy floor. What a wonderful place it was! It was a room full of dolls, but they raced by that. There were tables of games and balls and bats and skis, but Morty and Furry had no time for those. What we want for Christmas are things that go, they shouted, racing onto the toy cars and trucks and trains and some extra special toy airplanes. Stay with Uncle Mickey while I go to shop, Minnie whispered to Morty. Mickey wanted to buy a present for Minnie, too. Stay with it, Minnie, he told Furry. I'll be at the car at closing time. So there were Furry and Morty in the great big toy shop on their own. And what a wonderful time they had. They tried out every single toy that moved. They bought tickets for the spaceship, which advertised "Quick Trip to the Moon," 10 cents. And during the thrilling ride through space, Morty and Furry fell asleep. At the end of the ride, the other children called out, The pilot climbed out of his spacesuit and stretched. "Glad this day is over," he said to the Santa Claus's helper who worked at that store, getting messages from children all day. Then the space pilot went home, and all the clerks in the entire toy shop went home. Just then, Morty woke up. He looked around. It was dark and strange. "Where are we, Ferdy?" he asked. "In the spaceship," said Ferdy, waking up too. "Maybe we're on the moon." So they opened the door and peeked cautiously out. There was the toy department. But how strange it looked now, for everything was shadowy and still. There was plenty of space to drive the toy cars and trains, but the boys did not seem to care. Just then, they saw a beam of light. "Let's see what it is," they whispered, both at once. So hand in hand, they tiptoed toward the light. Squeak, 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 in the dark. When they reached the open door and peeked through, imagine their surprise, for there sat Santa's helper at a desk. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," he said, when he saw them there. "What brings you youngsters here this time of day?" So Morty Mouse and Ferdy Mouse told them their tale. "I see," said Santa's helper, with a wise and kindly nod, and he stood up and took them each by one hand. Then down through that big, still department store they marched with a fine, big, clumping sound. Through the big front door they saw Mickey and Minnie. "Where have you been?" cried Minnie. "Here they are," said Santa's helper, "as good as new." Then he turned to the boys with a serious look. "Next time you're out shopping, you stay close to your grown-ups, won't you?" "Yes, sir," said Morty and Ferdy Mouse, and they meant it from their hearts. Then Santa's helper smiled and held open the big door while they all ran out to the car. "See you Christmas Eve," he called as he waved goodbye. "Merry Christmas and good night to you all." The end. Thanks for joining me for Storyland today, everybody. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I will see you next time, and I will wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and of course, a Happy New Year. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Take care.